All right, thank you for staying with us. And let's quickly just give you an update. UEFA Champions League games currently going on. No difference from the last time we checked. Barcelona 2, Paris Saint-Germain 0. 44 minutes of football played going to 45. And the second game, Borussia Dortmund 1, Benfica 1. The game is tied 1-0 on aggregate. For Barcelona, they need to score more because they're still trailing 2-4 on aggregate to the French champions. Of course, in the English Premier League game going on at the Etihad, it is Manchester City 0, Stoke City 0, still barren, all right? But, well, half-time now in the game at Dortmund. It's half-time, so we'll wait to see what happens in the second 45 minutes of that game. Let's come back home very quickly and talk about the Nationwide League. Ameh Ottache used to be a Super Falcons player, but she has become a coach and she's involved now with the Nigeria Nationwide League, all right? And she's been talking about the rules for this season. Believe it or not, the Nationwide League is the lowest cadre of league football in Nigeria, and coaches from the Nationwide League are going to be benefiting from some of the structures put together by the league management company for La Liga coaches to train youth coaches in Nigeria. So let's pause, listen to Ameh Ottache, and then we'll be back with more on Sports Tonight.
I think it's a good development because we need to have replacements. If we keep having the same kind of players being recycled, football is not going to develop. We have the Mikel Obis of this world and the rest of them. We're going to get to a point where they will need to call it quits and we will need players to replace them. These are the practice that is being done all over the world. So I think it's a welcome development. For our team, we have a lot of young players. I think it's achievable. Okay. We should have this culture of having young players injected into even the Premier League sides. They should have like a youth development center where players can be groomed and also in the future shipped to occupy the places of those that would have retired when it's time.
All right, so that's Ameh Ottache, used to be a Super Falcons player, talking about the need for us to invest in youth football development in Nigeria. While that was going on, we made a change. Joseph Mukuzi had to go walk behind the scene, take a rest, and of course, Yemi Adebayo joined us as well on Sports on Yemi. Welcome to the show. We're kicking off with you on the issue of grassroots football development, youth team structure for our clubs. What advantages can we pick out from having those kind of structures in place for club football, for football generally in Nigeria?
It's obvious that, thanks for having me, it's obvious that having talent alone does not guarantee you being successful at what you do. Having a structure means that you can harness potentials. Having a structure means that there is a passage that ensures that the production line of stars, of football players is intact, and it's going to help the clubs. Like we say in local parlance, water we always find is level. And what the structure does for you is like a funnel. It just makes things go the way it should go. Once you have a structure, you don't have to know every player by name or determine what happens to them. Their quality will shine through, and their future is determined by how well they progress through the ranks. We can only benefit if their structures are in place. You ensure that the clubs have these feeder teams, have these youth teams, and a lot of footballers learn their trade on the streets. But when you learn in a structured environment, it helps it helps your growth. I jokingly told you about when I was in secondary school and we were supposed to play a game, and they brought the new FIFA ball. And most of the star players in my school squad were not used to playing with that, and we lost.
They were used to failure.
Yeah, and
they were used to the one that the breeze will carry.
You know, they didn't know how the ball would bounce. They were not used to a lot of things, and we lost that game. So when we talk about structures, I'm always happy. And when we also talk about what the LMC is doing, the partnership with La Liga to ensure that our coaches are trained, because what you put inside determines output. And if you're going to have world-class players, there needs to be world-class trainers as well, because of what they will instill, the kind of training, the kind of things. And it's not just about football alone. They are bringing the ideas about discipline, the virtues that they pick along the line. They're going to get it from those guys that have worked with them at the early stages when they're still impressionable, to learn, all the rudiments of the game.
Oh yeah, let's spend some time talk about the women's game as well, because we cannot talk about youth development and focus only on the guys. We need to talk about the women as well. For a long time, the women have not really enjoyed some of these things. Some of their games do not get the kind of attention that the men's game receives. But if we really are interested in having all-round development for the men and for the women, then we have to be looking at the women's game and look for deliberate efforts, make deliberate efforts to also help them develop.
Yeah. So I think the women's game in Nigeria is not left out. When you look at it, even in England, they try to tie it around the men's team. When they are discussing, they also set aside funds.
They try to tie them up with the guys. So let the guys help to boost the women's game.
The followership, the marketing is quite challenging. So they carry everything out. I think the Nigerian Football Federation and the head of the Women's League and her board members should work hand in hand with the LMC. When the system is thriving, you can only try to replicate, or you try to borrow a leaf from what is happening in the LMC, so that these women will have something to fall back on. You can't continue having games, worked over